Hey everyone, it's the end of the year. Happy holidays. Well, you know what? I haven't been to the comic book shop in a while. I've been busy. I've had the Christmas rush to deal with. So, to close out the year, I thought I would leave you with my first thoughts for the Green Lantern and Thor movie trailers. Now, first of all, ever since I saw G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, I have been really skeptical about how the director is going to depict a comic book movie, and rightfully so. So, that being said, what do I think of these two new movies? Well, let's start with the Green Lantern. At this point, I used to be a huge Daredevil fan, I used to be a huge Booster Gold fan, but as of the current storylines, I have to say my favorite superhero has to be the Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps. So, what can I say about the trailer? It just looks really impressive. Like I said with G.I. Joe, one of the main failings of the movie was that they didn't get the origin story right. Heck, for G.I. Joe, they didn't even have an origin story. It was just General Hawk saying, technically this unit doesn't exist, but when all else fails, we don't. And now you know, and knowing is half the battle. And here, yes, they do get the origin story right. It's Hal Jordan, he's a test pilot, and he gets visited by an alien. Well, he sees an alien crash down on Earth named Sur, who gives him his power ring and says, "You must be a Green Lantern. I want you as a Green Lantern." From there, it does seem really impressive, and we get, hopefully, one of the things I'm really hoping to see in this movie is Hal Jordan getting bullied around by some of the other Green Lanterns. For those of you who don't know the origin story, the Green Lantern Corps is really kind of, let's just say, racist toward humans because they're just such an inferior species, and Earth is just the most insignificant planet in the universe. Well, either way, the story does look pretty good. The main villains are Parallax. This ought to be really interesting. Considering the fact that Parallax is this giant yellow entity that feeds on fear and was basically just a reason to fix a storyline that people were really not happy with. I'm interested in seeing how this is going to work out, what Parallax is supposed to look like. He's probably still in post-production. Like I said, he's a big space entity that's made out of yellow energy, so how they're going to depict that, I don't know. They're also going to feature Hector Hammond, who I actually don't know that much about, and I've been recently learning about him. But he's supposed to be a scientist who his head begins to start growing and he becomes superhumanly intelligent, but slightly deformed. That ought to be interesting. And yeah, Sinestro will be in the movie, but I don't know really what they're going to do with him right now. We know he starts off as a Green Lantern, and he slowly works his way toward becoming Hal Jordan's archenemy. I can't wait to see how that works. And yeah. So, casting. First of all, Ryan Reynolds. A lot of people have been complaining. They're saying, you know, Ryan Reynolds is not right for the character because he's cocky and he's making him look too funny. You know what? I agree. I think Nathan Fillion would have been a better choice, but I'm willing to go on a little faith here. Blake Lively, I don't know much about her. I know she's on Gossip Girl. I know all the guys think she's such a hottie, playing Carol Ferris. Mark Strong playing Sinestro. That ought to be interesting. And a bunch of people I don't know playing everybody else. Oh, and they're getting Jango Fett to play Sur. I do have to say, the visuals do look pretty impressive. I love that the Green Lantern power ring looks like an actual ring and not something you'd find in a comic book store or a Cracker Jack box. The one complaint that I do have has to do with the Green Lantern costume. I'm not saying it looks bad, but it's mostly CG. I actually did recently learn that they're doing this because they want him to be able to change in a moment's notice. So just snap his fingers and poof, he's in his costume. That works, but still, I think they would work if they actually had an actual costume and not something CG painted onto him. Well, either way, I have high hopes for this movie, and it just looks good. Green Lantern's... oh, forgot my ring. Green Lantern's light! Anyway, moving on. Next up, we have Thor. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. Ask anybody, well, I forget that. Anyway, I've always thought of Thor as like the Marvel Comics version of Superman. You know, you can't have him being an alien, so instead he's a god cast down to Earth. First of all, we've been having hints of this ever since Iron Man 2, and they've been talking about bringing everybody together for the Avengers. And at the very end of Iron Man 2, we get a brief little scene in which Thor's hammer is found in a crater in New Mexico. Now, the premise of the film is that Thor is cast out of Asgard for his arrogance. He's been battling monsters, and for his arrogance, which has caused this war, he's been cast down to Earth. And now that he's on Earth, he has to learn what it takes to truly be a hero. This is going to be a pretty interesting idea, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. The main villains for this will be, obviously, Loki, who, despite the way he looks in the comics, in the trailer he doesn't quite look quite like that, the sly little devilish face. Yes, he looks pretty sane and rational for the god of mischief. But the one character I'm looking forward to, the Destroyer! Oh my gosh. I about freaked out. I about had a heart attack. About died from shock when I saw they were putting the Destroyer in the movie. And for those of you who don't know, the Destroyer is a giant suit of armor. Think Iron Man, but without Iron Man inside of it. It's more of a weapon than it is an actual character. And there's some scenes of him just tearing up a small town. We're also promised some various monsters that Thor may battle, just side characters to prove how awesome he is. Now, one of the big things is that Kenneth Branagh is the director of this movie. I know a lot of people thought it was kind of weird that Gilderoy Lockhart is directing this movie, and I've actually recently been informed because he did an adaptation of Henry V, so they're going on the fact that he can do this whole... One of the things that has to about the Asgardians is that they talk in a very medieval voice. I can't do it myself, but anyway, you get the idea. They talk very Shakespearean, very formal. Despair thy charm. There it is. And anyway, so yes, from what I've seen, it actually looks pretty good, pretty intense. The production value on Asgard just looks incredible. The cast, you have Chris Hemsworth, who played Kirk last year in the new Star Trek movie. You know, Kirk's father, excuse me, I want to clarify that. I haven't seen him in much, but this ought to be interesting. You have Odin as... well, you have Anthony Hopkins playing Odin. I have to admit, it is pretty cool seeing somebody else trying to hold Thor's hammer. And you have Natalie Portman playing Thor's love interest, whose name escapes me at the moment. So all in all, I'm really excited about these two movies, and I can't wait until next year to see them. Summer of 2011 is not coming fast enough. Well, that being said, I don't know when my next video will be out, but I promise it will be soon, sometime in the new year. For now, Merry Christmas, Happy Boxing Day, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all that good stuff, and I'll see y'all in the new year.